So I'm here at the Red Bull Hardline downhill event here in Wales, and I'm with Irish rider and national champion Rónán Dunne. Rónán, thanks for talking to me today.
Well, it's crack. How are you keeping?
Not too bad. How are you keeping?
Good, yeah. Good few days riding anyway here, so I think we're called off with the rain, so that's why we're chilling in here.
Yeah. This isn't your first time at this event, so have you had the time to get to grips with it this week, and has it changed at all, or what's the crack so far? What's your take on it?
Yeah, like we got raced last year, and got kind of like it was pretty bit of a shock there because like obviously coming into a race with nearly 100-foot jumps is pretty insane, and then people are like, oh, coming back second time, you should be sweet, and like you're like, well, I don't ride 100-foot jumps for the crack, so you kind of forget that anyway. So it is always a bit of a shock to the system coming back here, but once you get into practice and everyone's pretty hyped and like buzzing off like the atmosphere, you're like, this is sick, and like it's just you get going on from there really. So it's pretty sweet.
And back home, people mightn't be aware, but the national series is kind of ongoing. So round one was a couple of weeks ago. You won the first round, and round two is coming up in August, and then round three is in September in Wexford. So how confident are you that you'll defend your national title this year?
Yeah, like it's pretty important to me, that national title, to be honest. I just love having that sleeve, and obviously like I think a lot of the boys love it as well. And I know Oisin's going to be back this year, Oisin O'Callaghan, and me and him have been riding a lot in the winter, and so like I know how quick he is, so like I love him to bits, but I don't want him to win. So I can't let the Limerick man take it from me.
No.
But no, it's cool that like we're like so competitive, but also like it's great having crack. Like, and plus it's just nice to have that title for the World Cups, really.
Yeah, you get that sense when you're in a place like this that there's a good camaraderie among the racers. It's, you're in competition with each other, but when you're off the track, there's a bit more like friendship and fellowship.
Yeah, definitely, because like mountain biking, you're racing the clock, really. You're like, it's time trial, really. You're not side by side, so there's no reason to be any like beef or anything, or having like scraps, really, because like you've no say in each other's race, so it's pretty. But it is so sick, like this, especially this event as well, because it's just getting through the week with the boys, and like everyone's riding together, like following each other in for like jumps and stuff, because it's so dangerous, really. You just have to like help off each other, but then once it's still racing at the end of the day as well, so yeah.
This is a downhill event, and then there's enduro and cross country. Can you maybe explain in lay terms what the difference between those are, because I'm pretty sure some people might know.
Yeah, so enduro, it's like 6 stages, 6 tracks throughout the day, and then you'll go get an overall time of those 6 tracks, and the bikes are slightly smaller travel because they have to pedal uphill.
Okay.
And then that will mean, since the bikes are smaller travel, it means the tracks are less fast, rough. There's less big jumps. They'll be tighter. While downhill bikes, the bikes are only made for just going downhill. So then you'll see like 90-foot jumps, massive drops, like 70-kilometer-an-hour sections or something, like, because it's a way faster sport. So the downhill is definitely a bit more on the extreme end, but enduro, it's also like you're so fatigued in some bits. And then XC, on their hand, it's like side-by-side racing around a loop, and like that's not very high speed, but it's just extremely physical because they're like pedaling uphill like and they're like their time throughout the whole thing. So XC is definitely like super gnarly on that like fitness sense. Like I would never do it. Like, you couldn't pay me to do that, but then downhill's all skill, 100% skill based, and just like turning off your mind and just going a bit crazy with it pretty much. But yeah, that's kind of
great stuff. Yeah. Looking outside, conditions are fairly wet. It's the traditional weather for this time of year in this part of the world. Do you prefer these conditions for a downhill race, or would you have preferred a dry weekend?
Yeah, like, well, for hardline, dry weekend, 100%, because just with the wind, it's like, even yesterday it was a bit breezy on and off, and there's like the 2 90-foot jumps, and they're super exposed, and hitting those with any bit of wind is like so dangerous. Like, you could hit the jump perfect in the air, and you get a gush, and the bike just goes underneath you, and if you crash at that, you're pretty much done, really.
Right.
So like, and the last thing you want is a factor that you can't control making you crash. The rain, on the other hand, it's not, because the rain's not going to blow you away. So you definitely get through it on the rain. It'd be pretty sketchy. Like it's going to be really hard, but the wind is just a problem. But like, yeah, this race I just love it to be dry, because it's just you don't want any more factors playing into that part, really.
Yeah, you want to keep it as simple and as straightforward as possible. What got you into mountain biking in the first place? I think you're the first Irish mountain biker I've come across so far. So how did you get into this sport?
Yeah, it's kind of like I've always like just been in, like I live on a farm, so like we've just always been like had little pedal bikes around and just making jumps on the farm and just digging, like literally just for the crack. Like as a kid, just always had bike there. So like I was always into bikes, and then I used to do motor trials for like 4 years.
Okay.
And I was big into that, like, and that's because like we have a woods as well, so it's perfect for messing around. But then it was just motorbikes, they're like the engines constantly braking, and it's just so annoying that. And then my mate Ollie Davey, who owns the bike park in Dublin, actually.
Okay.
He brought me out for the crack when I was like, I think we were like maybe 12, maybe younger, I think. And he had a mountain bike, and that like was the first time I ever properly rode a bike. And I stopped a bit, and my neighbour Matt Jarvis, he brought us out biking as kids, and then that kind of got us properly into it, and then just bought a bike, and then eventually just got into the Irish racing, and I was like, this is sick, and then just kind of tipping away from there really until we got to the World Cups, and then here we are.
And the lengths you've gone to pursue your passion at home are crazy. I was reading you built a 45-foot jump in your backyard.
Yeah.
Like if I was a parent, I'd be freaking out seeing that.
Yeah, like I mean, I just built that because we had a digger for the day. I think my dad was building the gallops on the farm for the horses. And I was like, oh, can I have a shot of that for just a day? And I went down the woods, didn't tell the parents, just started digging anyway. And then I think after the jump was, I didn't tell them when I was going to hit it as well until I just showed them videos like, oh, look what I did. And my parents are super chill with that. Like they're like, oh, look after yourself. But I think they'd rather me crashing on a 40-foot jump than out partying every week or fucking throwing my life away with that stuff. So I think I'm dangerous stuff, but you're doing it safely as well.
I think you did the right thing. It's easier to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you got it right there.
Yeah, I've definitely done that a few times. Yeah.
The level of danger in the sport, I was talking to a few other riders earlier. Is that something that you enjoy, that there's an adrenaline kick off it? Is it something you're aware of and afraid of? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, like definitely the sport's pretty dangerous. Like we've all had big crashes and all injuries. So like, yeah, definitely dangerous. But I mean, everything's dangerous as well. It's not like you could be walking down the stairs and then you could slip. Like I'd rather injure myself on something I love than, like, I don't know, I think it's definitely worth the risk as well. But just the rewards out of it, let alone, is just insane. Like just the feeling you get during a race run and the crowd's going crazy, or just like here hitting those jumps, like it's just, yeah, it's definitely worth it there.
And you've gotten off relatively lightly in terms of injuries so far. Is there anything particularly bad that's happened? Before the event, don't forget. But yeah, you haven't had any serious crashes really.
Yeah, like I've had big crashes, but I've been, injury wise, I've never broken a bone. I'd like to say that's just the Wicklow genes in me, just fighting through anything, but or just drinking my pint of milk a day. But yeah, like I've definitely been lucky with that as well. But then also, like, I spent all winter training as well for injury prevention as well.
Okay.
Like, I know that's not going to help with bones or some stuff, but like, I mean, I've trained as hard as I could so we don't get injuries as well. But yeah, it's a roll of the dice, really, to be honest. I just hope them Wicklow genes keep fighting through for the season and keep me grand. So, but I'm happy with that anyway.
What kind of training are you doing off the bike? What do you have to work on in terms of like fitness or your body and stuff like that?
Yeah, so with like downhill, people are like, oh, it's downhill, you don't really have to do much. But obviously, like, because like upper body strength, just like actual general gym training a lot. So we'd pretty much for the winter, it'd be like in gym 4 times a week or so. So that'll be actual like gym based work, just weights and stuff. And then every day you'd ride a bike for fitness wise and just general like cardio, and then like we'd have like intervals on like the rowing machines and ski machine and stuff. So like that's kind of, but yeah, just most of it's just building up a bit of muscle, just so when you hit a tree at 50k an hour, you're not gonna fold in two really. Or like when you like take a big impact, you can hold yourself up. So yeah, but also you get like strength wise off riding the bike itself. But it's always nice to have a little something there to keep you alive.
I was listening to a few podcasts, and Bernard Kerr, who is team manager for Pivot, was explaining just how expensive it is to run a team, that you need, like, to have a good team, upwards of 400 grand.
Yeah.
For you yourself, is it expensive to be racing and pursuing this?
Yeah, so my first year elite, it was definitely, so with our team, we didn't have any sponsor. The team just started, so we didn't have any sponsors or anything. So we just all split the cost. And it's an extremely pricey sport really. So that's why I was like, my family was spending so much money, so I was like, I had to make this work.
Yes.
Or go to school, go to college, because if you're not making a living. So I'm grateful in a position now that like the results are going the way it is, that I can make a living off it. But yeah, like I was just like, if we're spending the money, just need to make sure that I give it my 100% and I can actually make something out of this. But it is a pretty pricey sport. But if you just keep pursuing it, it can pay off really.
And you get to travel the world. There's some great places on the tour, between Whistler, I think, was it Innsbruck a couple of weeks ago. Where's your favourite place to be riding at this point?
Where would it be? Definitely, I think Morzine in France is definitely a cool spot, or Schladming in Austria. But like, yeah, you see some incredible spots. Like we're over in West Virginia last year, and like it's pretty cool where riding a bike can take you. Like you're pretty grateful for that. But also riding at home, to be honest, in Wicklow is also can't beat that there as well. But yeah, it's pretty sick, just the places you get to see as well.
What's the mountain biking scene like in Ireland as a general rule?
Yeah, like it's definitely growing. Even lads abroad will see the videos from our races and see the crowds, and like, well, that looks like a World Cup, really. Yeah, the scene is definitely growing, and there's some insane talent coming up from like Callum Morris or Dara Ryan. Like these are just young lads from Ireland, and they're just like, it's so sick to see the amount of talent coming up. It's just a shame that we don't have bike parks. We have the one bike park, but like those guys have done a great job with the hill they're given as well. But like, we have mountains that could have a World Cup, and like in Wicklow and like beside Dublin, we could literally have probably one of the biggest races ever. But like, I think the whole Irish with their insurance, it's just like, it's so, and just seeing anything go besides the old GA or rugby, it's like, it's pretty unheard of, which like, and like we could definitely do it, because I've seen the government spend money on a lot worse things. But it's just a shame, because it could be way bigger. But for like what we're given with the hills, the Irish are definitely making it work. Which like a lot of other countries have massive bike parks with gondolas and huge hills, and like they've insane riders. But like just what we're given, we're doing a good job with it, I'd say.
In terms of your long-term goals, I know this might sound like an ignorant question, but BMXing is at the Olympics for 2024 and further foreseeable. Is that something you'd be interested in? Would you like to maybe have a shot at an Olympics at some point?
Yeah, like Olympics, like I think when you say Olympics, it's a pretty big, it's an insane deal. But yeah, like the way downhill is, it's weird. I don't know how they'd run it with the Olympics, to be honest, because I don't know how the whole, I don't really know why it's not in it, but also like I can see like the organization, like you'd probably have a downhill race that could be 700 miles away from Olympic Village, because it has to be in a mountain with a gondola and like all the right venues. So it's pretty crazy. But nah, downhill is just the only thing I'll probably be keeping the mind to. I don't think I'd be able to take much more. But yeah, it'd be pretty sick to see it become an Olympic sport. I think they were saying maybe have downhill on the snow and ski pieces and have it as a winter Olympic. But I rode in the snow like a week ago, and I don't think I'll be going back to that, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then your season objectives for the year, what would constitute a successful season for Rónán Dunne?
Yeah, so far the season's going, it's pretty consistent with top 10, so I'm sitting 13th on the overall, which I'm like, if you said this last year, I'd be like, oh my god, this is insane. But right now it's just get that podium back. Like, I got a podium last year, and just that feeling that I had from that podium, I was like, I need to get that back. And then in Leogang, I was 0.4 of a second off podium. I was like, yeah, that's the only objective really, is just to get that back really. So still 5 more rounds to go, so just keep the mind to it, and hopefully we get there again.
Well, fingers crossed for the rest of the season. Hopefully you have a good weekend here in Wales, and I'm sure we will hear more about you in the future. Rónán Dunne, thank you for joining me.
Cheers, boss. Thanks.